Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's episode we're going to be checking out Protoweb, which is a project that aims to recreate the 90s web browsing experience. And if that sounds familiar to you, then you've probably used the old net, which I've done a couple of videos on. But Protoweb is a bit different because not only does it let you access archived web pages from vintage PCs, but it has a goal of restoring those websites to get at least some of the functionality itself working again. So you know when you're browsing the Wayback Machine and you come across a snapshot with broken images or download links? Well, Protoweb takes those snapshots and then modifies them to try and give you the best possible experience of what that site would have been like to use back years ago. Down to even the little things like website view counters, which obviously would not update when viewing an archived snapshot. It's still in public beta right now, so not everything is complete, but from what I've seen, this is a really awesome project, and it's required a massive undertaking to get up and running, so huge props to everybody who's contributed to this. Now you'll have to go to the Protoweb website on a modern computer to view the setup guide depending on what vintage web browser that you're using, because it does differ a little bit. And in terms of what browsers they support, they've got a pretty decently sized list of vintage web browsers, and they even have their own web browser that you can download if you don't want to mess with proxy settings, because yes, that is how that this works. You'll have to change the proxy settings in your web browser to be able to connect to Protoweb. In this video, I'm going to be using, of course, Internet Explorer 5 here on Windows 98. So we're going to open that up. And the first thing we got to do is go to Tools, Internet Options, Connections, LAN Settings, and we have to check Use a Proxy Server. Now, it's worth noting that what I enter in here, you might have to enter in something else depending on when you're viewing this video, because this address and port could change in the future. So be sure to check the Protoweb website. So right now, the address is wayback.protoweb.org, and the port actually depends on which internet connection speed that you want to simulate. And that's the really cool thing about Protoweb, is this is trying to be as authentic as possible. So you can simulate either a T1 connection or a 56K dial-up connection. Now the T1 connection is going to get you about 1.5 megabits per second down, which would have been pretty freaking fast back in the 90s, that's for sure. So that's what I'm going to enter in here, 7851. You could also enter in 7856 to get the 56K dial-up connection speed. Now it's worth noting too, in Internet Explorer here, if you go to Advanced, you can change the proxy settings for each protocol. Now I mention this because Protoweb has actually archived some FTP sites to where you can actually download files from those FTP quote-unquote servers as if you were doing so back in the 90s. And to do that, you have to set your FTP protocol proxy to this same thing. Luckily, IE does that automatically for us, so we're going to click OK, OK once again, and OK for a third time. And now, if I try to go to msn.com, it should redirect us through Protoweb, which in this case, they have not restored msn.com yet. So we do get a little thing down here where we can just use the Internet Archive Wayback Machine to just pull a snapshot of that page from 1996 or all the way up to 2010. So kind of like the old net we got going on down here. So I can just do that and click go if I want to go to msn.com from 1996. But of course, we're not going to do that. We're going to go back to what's known as the inode gateway, which is what Protoweb calls the kind of main directory page. So you can also just go to inode.com, inode.com, and that will bring you to the Time Machine directory, which you see you got a bunch of stuff going on here. Some nice marquees going, which currently says they are hosting 1,203 web servers and 281 FTP servers, so that's pretty awesome. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can access these restored websites. You could just view a list of all the sites that they have restored by clicking here, and you see it's a pretty good sized list. You could also use a search engine. We'll come back to this in a moment. They've also got a list of cool sites over here, or you could just enter in a web address. So like I could click on 3dfx Interactive here, and you'll see that it will take me to 3dfx.com. But when it routes through this proxy, it of course, pulls the version that Protoweb has for us instead of the modern day 3dfx.com, which would just redirect you to the modern day NVIDIA site. But yeah, so here's 3dfx's website as it was in 1996. We can go back here and let's click on View More. This should take us to the domain list as well. So yeah, here it is. And they've got this split up in a few different categories. They've got the search engines up here. They have live content right here. This is one of the coolest things they've done. We'll come back to this in a moment. They've got a bunch of web rings. They've got contributor and sponsor sites. They've got international websites, which are just basically sites that aren't, specific to any one country. But we do have like Australian sites here, some Canadian sites, a bunch of different countries. And you've got your FTP sites down here. So you see there's all these little icons next to, well, not all, but there's a good amount of these sites that have these icons here. And these are used to denote a couple of different things. First off, the new one, pretty self-explanatory if it's a new website that they've added to their collection. They also have the hot label on a bunch of these. The country flags are used to denote what language the site is in. And you're mostly going to find these on the country-specific site. So like for this Finnish site here, Cult of Macintosh, even though it's a .fi domain, the UK flag here is letting you know that the site itself is in English. So if we go here, everything is in English, so there you go. We also have, if we scroll up, there is this icon to let you know that the site is broken or there's some sort of issue with it. So like westwood.com here. If we go here, there are evidently some issues with this website. It's not completely restored yet, but they still have it hosted here. And you also have the binoculars to let you know that it's a search engine. And that is a great segue into, well, the search engines. So you've got 3 different search engines here. You've got their own search engine, which they're calling Comet, which is a reference to *Halt and Catch Fire*, which is an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Literally stop watching this video right now and go watch it. It's a great show. I highly recommend it. But yeah, so they're calling the search engine Comet, which I think is really awesome because I love that show. But they also have Google and Yahoo as well. Now, when you search with any of these 3, you'll get the same results because it's pulling from the same set of info, which in this case is just all of the sites that they have restored here. So like if I go to Google here and search for Comet, why not? And you'll see it comes back with 473 results, and the first listing is Comet Crash, which is a GeoCities site. And if we scroll down here, the last on the first page is a Newgrounds site here. So if I were to go back and search with Comet, if we go way back here, and we do the same thing, we search Comet with Comet, you see we get those same 473 results. Comet Crash on GeoCities is the first result, and in this case it actually displays 1 through 20 instead of 1 through 10 like Google does, so we will get a different site down here at the very end, but number 10 will be that GeoCities site, or not GeoCities, Newgrounds, that Newgrounds page. So yeah, they've got search engines, so you can, if you want to find a specific website and see if they've got it restored and hosted, you can do that, which is great. And while we're back on the directory, let's take a look at the FTP sites, because they've got a good amount of these as well. So they've got, for example, the Compaq FTP site, so I can click on that, and it will use the FTP protocol to connect to this. So you see right here, it's letting us know that it's read-only because the proxy server is not set up to allow full access. I would have to change that, but it's not like you can really move stuff around anyway. You're only going to be able to view and download stuff. So we're going to click on close, and it will take us to ftp.compaq.com. So here it is. We get this disclaimer that Compaq had, and you even get the welcome and goodbye messages here. That would display if you were connecting with like an FTP client. So like goodbye here, here's the thank you for visiting Compaq's FTP server. Now I could browse around in here and go into the pub folder and like download a file if I wanted to, or what I could do is use the Comet search engine that they have to search for a file on one of these FTP sites, which is super cool. So if you're looking for a specific like exe file, you could click on search here, and if you go to file search, you could type in a file name. You could also search by minimum and maximum file size. And let's just use this example file they've got here, this CB32D479. This is a Netscape setup executable, I believe. So if we paste that in here and hit search files, it will find on the Netscape FTP server, there is Communicator 4.79 English base install. There it is. So I can just click on this right here and download it from the browser things, ftp.netscape.com. So we'll save it to disk, save it to desktop, and again, with that T1 connection simulated speed, it's going to be much slower than my actual download speed. If you're using the 56K proxy port, it would be even slower. And there we go, download complete. So we're just going to open it, and why don't we install Netscape Communicator? So we'll just run through this very, very briefly here. Yes, we want to create the directory. We're not going to make it our default browser or do any of that. And we're not going to view the README. So setup's complete. And now if we want to run Netscape Navigator, and we could configure this as well. Let's just put in my name here with these proxy settings. So let's go to Edit Preferences, and we need to go to, let's see here, where's it going to be? Advanced, probably, Proxies, there it is. So we're going to do Manually Proxy Configuration, and this is where you would have to enter in everything manually. So wayback.protoweb.org, 7851, and we'll just copy this to FTP here. Hit OK, and now, if we go to inode.com, we will get the Protoweb directory once again. But let's go back to Internet Explorer here, because the next thing I'm going to demonstrate is RuneScape. They have got RuneScape. If you go to runescape.com, they've got the old site as it was back in 2001, 2002. And if you have Java installed, you can actually play the game. And what they're doing is utilizing OpenRSC, which is a RuneScape Classic replica, to where you can actually go to the site and play RuneScape with currently 3,932 other people. One thing I also love is the ads. I mean, they've got like this old Netscape ad up here that's just playing, where you can click on that and it'll take you to the Netscape website, which I think is super cool. It's kind of, again, really, you know, recreating that authentic experience. So we'll click on Play Game here, and there's Java loading up, and it'll give us a security warning. We'll say Run. And here you go. I never really played RuneScape at all, but I still think this is really cool. So yeah, it will have you, like, you have to make an account and all that. Looks like we've got a Real Arcade ad, and I think this ad up here is still a Netscape Communicator ad. And there we go. So I'm in. I can design my character. I mean, I'm not really going to go through, like, any of this because this is not a video on RuneScape, but we'll just do that. And look at that, I was last logged in 19,554 days ago from 0.0.0.0. That's lovely. I just think this is super cool. Like they got everything going on. They got the game, they got the website, they got the ads. I mean, it's really awesome. So yeah, that is RuneScape through Protoweb. Let's go back to inode.com here, if I can spell right. And the last thing that I want to demonstrate is, in my opinion, the coolest thing that they've got going on Protoweb, and that is the live content section down here. So you've got Shoutcast, which is live radio, and you've got weather.com, which will show you live weather forecasts, like current data. Like if we go to weather.com here, this is the old school Weather Channel website in 1996, but I can pick, like, let's say New York here. We'll scroll all the way down, and we'll go to that state, and let's go to Buffalo, New York. And this will pull current accurate weather information for Buffalo, New York from the Weather Channel using a modern API. So currently in Buffalo, it's 78 degrees. Here's the forecast for Sunday through Thursday. Here's when it was last updated. Here's when the current conditions were last updated. And you see, these are current dates. Like, this is current weather information. It's so freaking cool. Yeah, so I mean, there you go. It's like, it's just, again, super, super awesome stuff. And the other thing they have is, if we go to Shoutcast here, they've got live radio stations where you can tune in via Winamp. So I've got Winamp, at least a setup executable. If we go into, let's go to the C drive here. I've got this version of Winamp that I can install really quickly here. And so now I've got Winamp installed, so I can tune in to any one of these radio stations and listen, you know, to the radio station live, like what they're actually broadcasting right now as I'm tuning in. I know that's how radio stations work, but it's cool because, again, it's this super old website. This is how Shoutcast looked back in the day. It's just super neat. Now, of course, I can't really play any of this audio for risk of this video getting copyright claimed, but let's see. Let me tune into this top 40 station here, so I can hit tune in. And Winamp's going to come up and bother me with user info. We'll say later. There we go. It's currently playing My Head and My Heart on whatever 1.fm, whatever radio station this is. I guess that's actually, if we go to 1.fm, I'm guessing that's, yeah, that is the website, 1.fm. And if I switch over here to my capture PC, you can see that I'm tuned into that same radio station and it's playing the same song. So yeah, just a really awesome, like, overlap of new tech and old tech. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I mean, that is Protoweb in its current state in all of its glory. I definitely see this being, added on to. I mean, again, it's in like a public beta stage currently, so no way is all of this final. In fact, the main reason I'm making this video is because I got an email from one of the developers of this project a while back, and he told me that one of the things they're currently working on is resurrecting old, like, video streaming websites, and but using those interfaces to stream videos that have been created like in the modern day. He even asked if he could use some of my videos from my channel, to post on Protoweb and be able to stream through those old web interfaces, which I think is going to be really cool if they're able to implement that. So yeah, there's definitely some awesome stuff to come, and I'm really excited. This is such an awesome project, and it's definitely worth checking out. So be sure to check it out down below. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, all that good stuff. And if you really enjoyed this video, and if you want to get early access to my future episodes, I do have a Patreon down below that you can check out as well. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.